Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at a major update from Amazon Studios' Warhammer Stories. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Major update on Amazon Studios' Warhammer Stories. It's official. Games Workshop and Amazon Studios have finalized their deal. The creative guidelines are nailed down, and we're all set to bring Warhammer to the screen. For those of you so inclined, you can read up on the super jazzy legal announcement here. Alright, so let's jump over real quick and take a look at that. Okay, so no big surprise here. It is very short and very sweet. Probably not going to contain a lot of details. Agreement with Amazon Films and Television Series. Further to its announcement on the 18th of December 2023, Games Workshop is pleased to announce that it has now agreed creative guidelines and reached a final agreement with Amazon Content Services LLC, a subsidiary of Amazon.com Inc., or Amazon, for the adaptation of Games Workshop's Warhammer 40,000 universe into films and television series, together with associated merchandising rights. Okay, so basically there is a legal agreement with Amazon and Games Workshop for films and television series for the Warhammer 40,000 universe, and then also merchandising rights as well. Under the terms of the agreement, Games Workshop has granted exclusive rights to Amazon in relation to films and television series set within the Warhammer 40,000 universe, together with an option for Amazon to license equivalent rights in Warhammer Fantasy Universe following the release of an initial Warhammer 40,000 production. So they've agreed on exclusive rights, so essentially a non-compete where Games Workshop cannot license rights to anyone else to do something similar at the same time or during a defined period. And then also Amazon has the rights to branch out into Warhammer Fantasy. So essentially saying that Games Workshop will only work with Amazon for an allotted period of time, and then Amazon will have first rights to branch out from 40K into the fantasy universe as well. Production processing in respect of films and television series may take a number of years. So a number of years, obviously a very vague timeline, so probably something in the 3 to 5 year range. The company makes no change to its forecast for the 52-week period ending the 1st of June 2025. So as far as business jargon goes, essentially saying, hey, stockholders out there, don't expect any extra revenue from this in the next 6 months. And realistically, based on the statements that we see here and the details or lack of details that they provided, probably would not expect any additional revenue generated from this for like 1 to 3 years at least. Alright, so that's enough of the legal mumbo jumbo. Let's take a look at the rest of the article. But what does that actually mean? Well, it means we now have synopsis and ordering for the stories we're going to tell. Yep, we said stories. It might have taken a year, but it was a year well spent. And what fun sifting through the enormity of Warhammer 40,000 universe, debating characters and story arcs and thematic grit that underpins it all. So what's next? When will the first project hit screens? It'll be some years. Project 1 is about to go into development proper. So next up is the scripts that will form the basis for everything else to come. Of course, as with all carefully crafted things, that all takes time. And trust us when we say everyone involved is as focused on getting it all just right. As soon as we know more, we'll let you know. In the meantime, don't forget the Warhammer 40,000 episode of Secret Level is available to watch over on Amazon Prime Video for the 10th of December. This secret is guarded tightly as the Golden Throne itself. Feel free to speculate along with us on social. Alright, so they mentioned the Secret Level, which is essentially like a little short story that they've done in conjunction with Amazon. But it is of note that they don't mention anything about Henry Cavill. So obviously there was a ton of talk about Henry Cavill and his involvement, a ton of hype built up on this. We know that Henry Cavill essentially was locked into a contract that needed to be decided on by December, and same with the Amazon setup. So they have locked in the contract with the Amazon series to do stories, movies, and merch. But the fact that they didn't mention anything about Henry Cavill could be perceived in two different ways. Either they don't have anything officially on paper with him from here going forward, or they're saving it for some future hype. Now a quick word from today's sponsor, CMO Games. CMO Games carries a full range of Games Workshop products including miniatures, paint, terrain, tools, and more. They take pre-orders for most Games Workshop new releases as early as possible, usually 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. CMO Games offers 15% off of MSRP for most all Games Workshop products and offer fast free shipping to the continental United States on orders over $50. Most orders ship out within 24 hours. You know their customer service is top-notch as they've been selling games online for over 20 years. Use the affiliate link below and let them know that Warhammer Man sent you. There was always quite a bit of speculation or hesitancy with the involvement of Henry Cavill. Obviously, the fans of 40K and knowing that he personally is a fan, a player of Warhammer, etc., is something that's really good for the community, really good for the existing players, but obviously there has been a lot of controversy that follows him as an actor, him as a person, etc. So to the actual Warhammer fans, the people that want to see this done right, we were all super excited for it. But on the other end of the spectrum, there's definitely some hesitancy, especially from a business standpoint and some of the agendas and things that Amazon has pushed in the past. We can take a look at some of the other projects, some of the other big names and IPs that Amazon has been affiliated with, especially in the recent years, some of the agendas that they've been pushing or some of the roads that they've went down, and say that there's a good possibility that anything that Amazon gets its hands on is not necessarily going to be in line or like beneficial to the IP of the Warhammer that we've all grown and loved. Some of the recent discussions or scandals have involved things like female space marines, female adeptus custodes, or some of the agenda that we've seen pushed in some of their other like TV series or movies. So while I personally had my own reservations when hearing that Games Workshop was going to be teaming up with Amazon, the truth is, I don't really care what they do, as long as it overall has a net positive effect on Warhammer and Games Workshop as a whole. Of course, I would like to see them stick to the true story and lore of the universe. I want to see maximum exposure because that's going to grow the game, it's going to grow the community, and generate a ton of interest for the actual hobby itself. And as someone that is personally passionate about tabletop wargaming, the hobby, and then Games Workshop IP in general, I honestly think the more the merrier. While I hope that they do stay true to like the existing lore of the universe, as someone that's been involved in Games Workshop's IP for over 30 years, been playing their games, enjoying their content, I know that they have consistently retconned the lore or evolved the story as time went by. And while I hope that they don't make any massive changes or completely upset the audience, the longtime fans, etc., I also understand that as they want to branch out, reach a wider audience and tap into the other like 50% of the population, which is definitely lacking on representation in the Warhammer world, I'm pretty open to the ideas and stuff they come up with. I do hope that they stay focused on like the existing world and don't change it too much. I hope that rather than changing a lot of characters from the past or pushing like a strong agenda, like we've seen with some of the other big content creators or companies like DC Comics or Disney, for instance, that they focus on creating high quality content that's enjoyable for all. I'm all about being inclusive and growing the space, but not at the cost of the existing fan base. We've seen a lot of issues with some of the previous IPs as they've gotten involved with Amazon. Things like Star Wars have lost a lot of the existing fan base. The quality of the stories and content has definitely gone down over the years, and it's done a lot of damage to the existing fan base or quality of content. We've seen similar trends with things like Lord of the Rings, and then obviously similar IPs like Disney have taken a turn for the worse over the last few years, as instead of focusing on good stories and making them enjoyable and well written, we've seen them going further and further down the dark path of the agenda. So while I'm open to anything from Games Workshop, as long as it's well written, fun, and exciting, and the main focus is actually entertaining us, growing the fan base, and growing the IP, rather than some glaringly obvious agenda. So I think overall this is really good news. I want to see Amazon teaming up with Games Workshop. I want to see Warhammer 40,000 or Warhammer Fantasy growing. I want to see more exposure, more excitement. And for the most part, I'm all about the more the merrier. I do wish there was a little bit more information in this article, but it sounds like we've got a few years before we see anything necessarily positive coming out of this or any actual content for us to start enjoying. But obviously Games Workshop and Amazon are already working together with the new Secret Level series coming out. Hopefully Henry Cavill is still in the project because I think overall he's a phenomenal actor. He's got massive name recognition, and as a true Warhammer 40,000 fan, a player, and just an overall cool dude, I think his involvement in the project is definitely a net positive, and I really hope that that is still the case. So let me know what you think about this new announcement, what you think is going to come of it. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. And as always, special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the channel. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on most Games Workshop products. And make sure to tell them that Warhammer Man sent you. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.